Alright, so I wanted to comment quickly on some of the action that's been happening in the Middle East over the past several days. So, to start off with, a few days ago, what kicked all this off was a rocket that was launched by Hezbollah from Lebanon into northern Israel, which landed in a civilian area and killed 12 children, as the reports say it. These children were Israelis, but they were not Jews, in fact. Reporting is that they belong to the Druze faith, which is a smaller Middle Eastern religion. And in response to this, Israel has conducted strikes in Beirut in Lebanon, Tehran in Iran, and one other place, I forget exactly where. But the point is, they've eliminated several terrorist leaders in these strikes, and Iran is vowing to ratchet up and retaliate and expand the current conflict in the Middle East. So I wanted to give my thoughts on this situation. I think that what has happened over the last few days pretty clearly demonstrates the moral difference between Israel and some of these forces like the IRGC and Hamas, Hezbollah, and several other of these groups. When Hezbollah hits a bunch of kids in Israel, they come back and hit terrorist leaders in targeted strikes all across the Middle East. Okay. So this paints a clear difference between what the IDF does and what these other groups do. Now, what do I think that the result of this is going to be? I think that Iran will find a way to retaliate because it is in their nature. After a strike in Damascus in Syria, which is actually that third place I was thinking of, after the strike in Syria several weeks ago, Iran launched 300 drones and missiles at Israel, in which case 99% of those armaments were actually shot down. And the only person in Israel who was harmed was actually, if I remember correctly, was a Muslim child. And so Iran is in the business of retaliating against these kind of things, and I think they will find some way to retaliate. But in that case I just mentioned, and in really all of the wars that Israel has fought in the Middle East since its independence back in the late 1940s, Israel has consistently showed a technological and tactical level of superiority over the surrounding nations. And that is certainly true today. So if Iran were to try and launch a large-scale attack against Israel, it is likely that many Iranian soldiers and many Iranian military bases and much Iranian military equipment would be destroyed in the ensuing conflict, and probably Israel would be really vindicated on the world stage with such an act of aggression from Iran. Other than that, I don't think any of these other groups will have any massive degree of retaliation. Obviously, they'll try, but I doubt they will be successful. And that, in my view, is the current state of the Middle East.